Hello and welcome to this nighttime. It's still night here now. If you live in South Carolina, it's daylight by now. Taste challenge. I have two single malt Scotch whiskies, and this is a famous one. One is famous, one is not famous. This is Ardbeg, the ultimate Islay single malt Scotch whiskey, guaranteed 10 years old. So the official name of it, according to their website, is Ardbeg 10 Years Old. That's what it's called. Ardbeg 10 Years Old. Introduced. It's got a green bottle. You can see helps protect it from the light. Not as good as brown, but this is from Ardbeg Distillery, and it was introduced in 2000, exactly the year 2000, AD 2000. All right. And it's 46% alcohol, and it runs over $50 a bottle. Although when I bought it, I found it for $44.99. That price is history. I don't need tags on the. I'm looking at a tag on the bottom of the glass, but I don't need them because I will never confuse these two. So this is going to be a taste challenge in name only, because there's no way I would confuse these two products. Pour a little bit of this, and I'll show you what I've got. What else I've got. Both of them have foil cap covers. This is Trader Joe's, and they both have real cork. Trader Joe's Highland single malt Scotch whiskey with a rum cask finish. Now, I bought 3 different Highlands from them, and they were $17.99. You know, when I went to Trader Joe's last week, I saw the bourbon cask finish, I believe it was. They might have had all 3, but I wasn't paying that close attention. But it was still $17.99. I was amazed. I said, wow, after 3 years, the price has not gone up, which I was very happy to see. It's good, but let's call it just good. If you never get it, you haven't missed a lot, because it's easy to find a good whiskey, really, but maybe not for $17.99 for single malt, maybe not. Okay. Ardbeg 10 years old. Most liquor outlets will sell it. Yes. Shouldn't be too hard to find. In North America, at least. Joe Cobb in Canada says, good morning. Never tried Ardbeg. Have had Lafroig, though. How do they compare? I can't say, because my experience with Lafroig is either very minimum, I think I've had it once, or none. Okay, so I can't say yet, but I do plan to buy it, at some point, but I'm not in a rush. But look how pale. Now look at the two appearances. The Trader Joe's is amber, heading toward really copper, and the Ardbeg is pale straw with a kind of a greenish tint that you get sometimes with these Scotch whiskeys, kind of a green to it. Like white grapes are kind of greenish looking. Joe says, I think I got it on sale. It's good, very smoky though, but that's kind of the point. Yeah. If you complained about smoke with these products, these Islay products, it wouldn't make a lot of sense, because that's what they're created to be. So if you don't like smoky, because usually the label will be touting it, it's smoky. It's pronounced Islay. They're giving a pronunciation. The flagship, they're calling it. And they're saying a 70 centiliter bottle. Well, in the United States, 150 milliliters, or 75 centiliters. Revered single malt. Yes, it is. 46%. Got it right on the color, light gold. Well, I'll call it straw, but they got the color correct, showing it. Sea spray, tarry rope, immense smoky intensity. Now, I don't know what a tarry rope is, but some of the more maritime people might know. There's a lot of words I don't know, but if I don't say I don't know, I don't claim to know stuff I don't know. It has the peatiest, smokiest, most complex single malt of them of them all. Well, now you see, there you go with the marketing. Is it really the peatiest, smokiest, and most complex of them all? Couldn't say because I never tried them all. But anyway, you know, you can't get too caught up in those marketing things. But it is from Moet Hennessy Louis Vuitton Company. That's the name of the company. MHLV. Moet Hennessy Louis Vuitton. Louis Vuitton is like an apparel, fancy clothes, kind of right, super upscale company, and Moet Hennessy does a lot of liquor. So they made a single collaboration company. And they have that Queen song from 1974. She keeps Moet and Chandon in a pretty cabinet. Isn't that what it says? I've never had Moet or Chandon, but I remember that in the song. I never knew what they were saying until I looked it up, and I still didn't know what it was. I figured some kind of alcohol, and it is. Or I didn't know it. Maybe I thought maybe it was a perfume or something. All right. I'm going to have to close my eyes because if I glance and see the lighter color, I'm going to know what it is. But I'm not going to have to taste them. I'm going to tell them apart by aroma only. And honestly, that'll put me at, and that will, I don't know why I'm saying honestly, it's going to put me at 14, 12 of 14 correct. Challenges correct out of 14 opportunities. I did get it wrong twice. But I did do that early on. When I first started tasting these, I got it wrong early on. And I wasn't really used to the flavor. And I was going up against some other oddities like the Trader Joe's Highland rum cask. I mean, the bourbon cask finish, and Trader Joe's 10-year age single malt, and the 8-year age. And Glencullen, which is not so good, barely good. It's good. It's not even a B minus, really. I guess it's like a B, but that Trader Joe's 8-year age single malt Speyside, that is a B minus. That's like arguably good, arguably not good. It's definitely the worst single malt I have. And I have some questionable ones, let's be honest. That's why they were cheap. But, you know, well, whatever. This smells like smoke. And this smells like that caramel candy. Rum-filled chocolate, drop candy, caramel candy, golden raisins. Probably wouldn't smell like any other single malt you ever tried, honestly. But it tricks your mind, you know, like you're thinking this is bad, but it's just different. Do they really need to take single malt Scotch and finish it in rum casks or sherry casks? That's the one I have that's unopened. Or bourbon cask. Well, they usually age them in bourbon, ex-bourbon barrel. They don't have to do it, you know, but with all the competition and with so many brands out there just sitting on the shelves, they're trying to come up with something that'll grab your attention. You know that. Whether it works is up to the consumer. So this is the Ardbeg 10, obviously. Just got that smoke. So it's like smoke damage, you know, like if you have a fire in your house, all the clothes are smoke damage. But people say the way to get that out is to hang it on the line outside in a breezy day, for a couple of days. And people say, I don't know, I never had a fire with smoke damage, but they say it would get the smoke smell out the clothes. What I heard. The magic of fresh air. And they use those peat fires to roast the malt. I mean, you could use any heat oven, you know, I mean, you could use gas heat, electric heat, but they use the fire, the traditional old method, which is not really required now. They got modern heating, but they want to do it that way to give it this character. Yeah. Yeah, buddy. Inky, sea salt. Nah, really sea salt, but like the feeling of being close to the sea. I'm only 6 miles from the closest beach, but that's a brackish lake. It's half salt, half freshwater. So that's, you don't get that full sea effect, but you're getting toward it. Let's see. Tarry rope. Oh, a rope that's been coated with tar. Tarry rope. I'm saying tarry. Oh, like to preserve the rope. I get it now. Well, who's ever eaten that? How you know it tastes like a tarry rope? You ever, tasted that? I guess they mean it what they think it would taste like, that tar taste. And I suppose that's correct. I have had some really low. It's funny because this is like exemplified, an exemplification of what is the best in Scotch. And I've had some really low grade beers that have a roof and tar flavor and smell that definitely exemplify bad, not what you want. Bizarre grapes and roofing tar. Ah, well, Chihuahua, that was that doggone beer 30 ice. You say, well, it was only $2.99 a 6-pack. Yeah, it was about $2 too expensive. A train wreck of a beer. Still made, apparently. And that Milwaukee Special Reserve ice, another atrocity of the beer world. And that's definitely still made because they still have it listed on the Minhouse Craft Brewery website. I'm surprised they're not ashamed to show it, but they proudly showing it and like it's something good, No, I mean, this one is different. It's a different type of animal. Let me tell you, you would never confuse these two. Impossible. Even if you never tried them before, if you just read the bottle and it's talking about smoky, then you taste it, you're gonna know. Just because most obviously everybody knows what that is gonna taste like. The aroma is rich and malty. I go along with the rich and a biscuity sweetness and fresh fruit notes. The flavor is sweet and rounded with vanilla oak that carries through to a mellow and long-lasting finish. Well, you say so. I'm not getting that exactly. I'm getting some rather bizarre flavors. Can't say they're bad. Like, I'm going to give it a B. Give it one more taste. I'm going to go with 8.4 out of 10. I think it's fair. It's good, but I'm not going to miss it when it's gone. I'm just telling you that right now. But then I got a whole bunch on the shelf in there that I'm not going to miss when they're gone. Single malts. They just drab, a little off in some ways. But you say, well, that's why they were $20.99 or $17.99 and all that. Yeah, that's right. You got it. But then I found the Benriach peated Speyside for $9.99. That's an anomaly, though. A $65 bottle of whiskey for $9.99. My friend David tried. Boy, he loved it, and I tried it. I loved it. That's just a weird thing, on these Louisiana weird closeout sales. You can't. You just buy it. You don't ask questions. You just say, okay. Like finding Nikka from the barrel, Japanese import, $75. That's what I found it. The cheapest price I found on the internet was $58 on some online liquor store. Well, they have their own actual location, but they do online sales also. But most places I checked was 75. Now Ardbeg 10 will run you 55 to 60. Yeah, I do believe. I did find it at a store in Kenner, Louisiana for $44.99, and I was very pleased with that. I knew that price wasn't going to hold. I said, ain't no way this price is going to last, because the cheapest I ever seen it, and you go back now and it's $10 more, But you got to keep your eyes peeled. My friend David was telling me this morning, he said, Rouse has had a bunch of half-price liquor. I said, yeah, but he was encouraging me to go look at it today, but I said, I don't. I said I got too much. I just not trying to be a rain on people's parade, or so to speak, but and I appreciate people giving me an alert. It's just I got too much. There's no reasonable explanation to buy more. It wouldn't make any sense unless you say, well, you've gone mental and you've become a hoarder. That would be the only good explanation, but that's not reasonable. So it would be an explanation, it wouldn't be a reasonable explanation. Now this jewel here, this is the winner now. I like the Finlagen. Nice product. $21.99. That is a steal. I think it's a wonderful Islay Scotch. The Benriach Speyside, it rivals this one. Wonderful product, no longer made. Sorry to say. Might find a bottle lingering on the shelf though. Got an eyelash like in my face. But this thing is the champ so far. Now, do I want to get the wee beastie? It's like age 5 years. They say it's a rougher, more bolder, if you want to call it that. I think they call it that on their website, a bolder expression. Bolder, not like you're in the mountains and here comes a boulder, but bolder, like it's bold. Or you could say a louder expression. Yes, I do believe that's going to be my next single malt purchase. I would love to get the Ardbeg Wee Beastie or the Glenfiddich. Age 12, I think it's age 12. The chief rival of Glenlivet 12. So you got Glenfiddich 12 years and Glenlivet 12. They all go head to head all the time. And you got your partisans for that and the partisans for the other one. Either side, either faction loves one or the other. I can't comment on the Glenfiddich because I've not had it. I know Glenfiddich is from William Grant and Company. They own the Glenfiddich Distillery. And if you look carefully at Grant's blended whiskey, you'll notice that their single malt they're using is Glenfiddich. So I guess I have tasted it in a blend. Or I'm gonna get the Ardbeg Wee Beastie. I don't have to rush, but one or the other, and then eventually both. Could I have tasted Ardbeg in a blend? I think Ardbeg, if you read their website history, up until the current resurgence of whiskey, starting when the internet days got going, like in 96, 97, people started doing online chats about it and everything. Then, Ardbeg really started focusing on single malt sales. But I think at one time, they mainly concentrated on selling their single malts off to be blended, which was a common thing back then in the old days. You had single malt companies, no question on that. And you could buy it at the store. Always could buy it at the store. But it wasn't really that big of a thing. It was kind of like a real niche. Like, oh, that's one of those weirdos that drinks single malt. When the vast majority of the public, I'm not saying right or wrong on this, I'm saying what went on. They drank the blends, and you had your Ardbeg 10s, your Colilla, Laphroaig, Lagavulin, Aberlour, you know these brands, Ardbeg, Glenmoray, Tomatin, and so forth. And they were used in blends. And companies would bid on it, and they'd blend it and sell it. J&B, one of your big blending companies, Just Ernie and Brooks, and they would, like I say, they would bid on it. Like I had that Highland Mist, so I don't have it anymore. It's gone, but that's a pretty common blended Scotch around here. They said they use single malts from all 4 regions. See, Highland Mist uses Speyside, Islay, Highland, and Lowland. So it might be, like 20% single malt, but it might be 5% Islay, 5% Speyside, 5% Highland, 5% Lowland, and then 80% grain whiskey. Why are they doing that? They're doing it so to be rounded. There won't be any particular type coming out. You get a little smoke, but you got to really strain for it. And it's made that way. Highland Mist is pretty popular. Now, actually, if you read the reviews on distiller.com, it's not bad. It doesn't get bad reviews. I mean, nobody's out there talking about it's amazing. Or if you look at Total Wine, they're not talking about that. Oh, it's amazing. They're just saying, I like it. It's nice. That kind of thing. Good. I'll give this a 9.5, 9.6 every day. Yeah, I can't go 9.5. I got to go 9.6. That good. It beats Johnny Walker Blue Label. I know that's a blended. But still, think about the price. I paid $226 plus tax for Johnny Walker Blue Label. I paid $44.95 for Ardbeg 10 years age 10 years. And the Ardbeg is better, not way better. I think if I'm paying $226 plus tax, it should be scoring close to 100, like at or just at, at 100 or 98 at the worst case. The worst case scenario should be a 98. But 9.5 out of 10, 95 out of 100, nah. I consider that a flop. I'm paying this good money, and I'm getting, and if you watch the video, you can see my face. I'm like, you got me. But I mean, I chose to buy it. Obviously, I wanted to try it. Okay, last comments. I've been drinking Old Milwaukee beer lately. Not bad for a cheap beer. Oh, the Canadian Old Milwaukee. Yeah. We can't get it in any format. Do y'all still have the lady on the cans? They got rid of that years ago here, but I think in Canada they still have the different ladies on it. I think I heard you say it uses Saz hops, kind of tastes like Czech bar. I think in the old days, they used to have that on their website that they use Saz hops, but their website, Pabst, is like notorious for not updating their websites, so you can't trust those guys. I don't know if you can find it where you are. Ontario Liquor Control Board special orders it from Scotland. Dom 44, that's 60. We got to pay 120 for Ardbeg 10 here. 120? Oh, no lady? Oh, they're probably going with the updated label then. They finally got shed that. That was kind of like 10 years ago. That was what are you talking about? They special order from Scotland? I'm not quite sure what brand you're talking about. Yeah, $44.99. Well, obviously $45, but they always put that 99 to make it sound like it's cheaper. Yeah, my favorite blend that I linked. Your blend. I'm not showing. It's not showing a link here. It may not accept links in the comments. But what is the brand? The blend. If you write the name, Te Biak. You know what, Joe? It'll be 1,000 years from now, and I'll still be saying, I haven't seen that product. Not that we'll be around in 1,000 years, but you know what I mean. If you like caramel candy, and millions of people do, it's Gaelic, pronounced Chavik. Chavik. I don't feel bad about saying Tebiag, though, because that's what it's spelled, Yeah, I feel you, so much to try. I don't know why they don't alliterate the spelling. Okay, Gaelic. It's like a strange language to us, right? Well, why they don't spell it in Latin letters the way it would be pronounced, right? They started doing that with Chinese back in the 1990s, where the communists, who I'm not a fan of, to say the least, you know that. But they said, well, we don't really pronounce these names like you pronounce them, but we understand because it's not written correctly. So they started to write it the way it would be said as best they could approximate it. So like Peking, people always say Peking. When I grew up, capital of China, Red China was Peking. Okay. But they said, no, we don't really say that. We say Beijing. But then some Chinese people told me that's not really true, though. I talked to some Chinese people. They said that's not really true because they're going by Han Chinese, like the main Chinese dialect. They said, but there's a lot of dialects that aren't them, and they will say Peking. But the government approved pronunciation is Beijing. Beijing. They say Peking. So they started to write it the way they thought you should say it, Beijing. So that was a big adjustment to say Beijing to Peking. Now, if you go on the Republic of China website, they still spell it the old way because they say, well, since the communists said they're going to write it this way, we're going to keep the old way because we're not under their control. So if you go to Republic of China website, Taiwan, Republic of China, they'll still say Peking. And they use all the old spellings. Chiang Kai-shek. But then the other one is Jingjiaxi. Han is the main ethnicity in China, lots of Cantonese and other types, though. Right, so they might say Peking. Yeah, Taiwan, also known as the Nationalist China, right. The original Republic of China government. Yeah, they're old school. So you just have to look at it that way. When I went to San Francisco in 2006, they had Chinatown, you know that. But there was the Republic of China town, and it had all Taiwan flags, ROC flags. Then the next street further west was People's Republic of China, known more accurately Communist China, since the people don't run it. And they had the red flag with the yellow stars. And it was like all the way down the street. I was like, I bet they never cross over. Like they stay on each other's own side. They stay on their own side. They don't cross over because then it's trouble, fighting. If you go to Louisiana and go to a Vietnamese neighborhood, there's only one flag flown, and that's the Republic of Vietnam flag, the yellow flag with the 3 red stripes, horizontal stripes, which was conquered by the Communist Chinese, Vietnamese in 1975. And I mean, they have fools in the world. I'm not saying they don't have fools. If you were a fool, you would drive to the neighborhood with a red flag and a gold star. But you'd be instigating trouble. You'd be asking for it, because those people got a big gripe against that. They got a long-term anger about what happened. So obviously, you would never see the red flag anywhere. I mean, maybe at the International Trade Mart, where Vietnam has the Socialist Republic of Vietnam, has a delegation or something. But in the neighborhoods, they call it Little Saigon or whatever. No way. And they ain't going to say no Ho Chi Minh City, Saigon. But anyway, yeah, so that's interesting, those dialects, because like Myanmar, Burma, everybody grew up saying Burma, right? Burma. I went to Burma. Burma used to be part of India. Actually, the British had made Burma part of India, like a quasi area of India. And then they became independent in 1948 as a republic. And they did not want to be part of the Commonwealth. They're like, we don't even want to be a colony. We don't want to even be associated with y'all. So they just left, and that was it. Okay. They don't want to be associated with the British Empire. But there was a controversy on the name. English people say Burma. Americans say Burma. But some of the people in the capital said, no, it's pronounced Myanmar. But then some Burmese people over here say, no, that's what the ruling party said, Myanmar. But some people in the country say Burma. And they say, no, it's not Yangon. It's not Rangoon, the capital Rangoon. It's Yangon. But then the same thing, that they say that's a dialect issue. It's some people in the country that live in the country say Rangoon, and other people say Yangon. And I don't live there, and I don't know. Same thing with Thailand. Siam, Thailand. Another thing. Oh no, it's not Siam, it's Thailand. But then some people say no, they did say Siam, and then it was the capital was Bangkok. Oh, the government said no, it's Krung Thep. And then you get the people say no, that's just that a lot of people live in the country say Bangkok, not Krung Thep. And like I said, I don't know. People argue about how to say New Orleans here. New Orleans, New Orleans, New Orleans. Nobody says New Orleans though. You see that on TV and on like websites for restaurants. New Orleans, NAW, NA apostrophe WLINS, New Orleans. I never heard. I swear, I never heard anybody say that of any area of the city. Growing up, I never heard anyone say New Orleans until the internet came around and people started saying that. No, say what is New Orleans? Like I never heard. If you came here in Louisiana, you would never hear anybody say New Orleans except people from out of state. They're like, yeah, we're from Iowa. We're visiting New Orleans. I was like, you've been looking at the internet, huh? You've been on Instagram. Because no one says that. No one says New Orleans. Now, you remember back before the internet, people from out of state, out of Louisiana, would call it New Orleans. You know what I mean? Like from Ohio, or if they were from Nevada, they say, we came to New Orleans for a trip. Okay, that's how it's spelled, so we can't argue with that. But no one around here would say that. They would say New Orleans, New Orleans, New Orleans, New Orleans. If they were from the Ninth Ward, New Orleans. Or if they were from uptown, they would say New Orleans, New Orleans, New Orleans. I live on Chestnut Street in New Orleans. But no one, and I mean no one, said New Orleans, and no one today says New Orleans. But that's on the internet, and on brochures. All right. Well, thanks for watching. Sorry. What are you saying, Drewski Brewski? I'm not even going to comment on that comment. Not much of a challenge. Now we're going to have some real challenges, though, because we're going into blended. So I've got a blended Scotch, and we'll see how it does in the taste challenges. I have no predictions. We'll see. Time will tell. All right. It's to me, it's bland, though. All I got to do is look for the bland flavor. You're going to see it later. It's bland. To me, it's bland. And I never watched the television show. Maybe that series was exciting and wonderful, and it was so adventurous, and you couldn't wait to what was going to happen next. But I'm telling you the truth. I never watched a single episode of that HBO series, Home Box Office. Not to down it. I'm not saying people that watched it were bad or anything. I'm just saying I'm not interested in it. I don't watch those kind of things. Oh, well. Thanks for watching, everybody. Bye-bye.